Hello, everyone, and welcome to another interview. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Jakrapob Penkair, former journalist, professor, politician, and also a close friend of former Premier Mr. Thaksin Shinawatra. Mr. Jakrapob, thank you so much for your time today, sir.
Thank you for having me.
So there's a couple of main issues that I want to discuss with you today. The country is facing quite a bit of uncertainty politically now that we have minority government, and public trust and ethics is a constant part of the current political landscape here for a variety of issues. And I am curious, do you trust Prime Minister Anutin Chanvirakul and the cabinet that he's appointed?
If trust means that he would do the right thing automatically, no. But I trust him to be very keenly political in his own way. In other words, he could handle himself politically, but whether or not that would be beneficial for the country, I doubt it.
Do you anticipate legal challenges to the appointments that he's made, given the experience that you have?
Yes. He himself as a person and some cabinet members as a group have received some allegations, to say the least, and some, charges from the legal system that they have to answer accordingly. So, in this short time that they have, I think they would spend more than half of their time answering these charges.
Do you think that there's enough time for those charges to actually come to fruition, though?
Well, the bad news is they would spend most of their time clearing their own names, and they would hardly have time to run the country, I'm afraid.
Okay, so on that note, the timeline, the 4-month countdown basically to the dissolution of the House, and then the upcoming
Yes.
election has already begun with his policy statement. And I'm curious, do you feel that the minority government can make substantial progress during that period of time on any of the issues that the country is facing?
Is there any government at all, majority or minority, can really function well in Thailand today? And the answer is not. No. I think the government has been put under the constraint of the constitution, of the political conflicts, and of these allegations and charges too much that they would be efficient as a government. So I believe that after all this has been at least settled, I think we have to go for the main problem, which is the Constitution Amendment.
What do you think that the current primary focus should be for the Prime Minister?
I believe that any side should try to preserve democracy because all this commotion and chaos may lead to another coup d'etat by the armed forces or keep Thailand as a country, but only as a shell. But other countries have been, putting themselves behind on these economic and political and social decisions, which we don't want. So the problem is, I think that any government and opposition at this time have to help or collaborate on preserving the regime itself. Try not to have any external factors that would derail democracy to come in. And then economic problem, of course, would be right second.
What do you mean by regime?
Regime means we don't want another coup d'etat. We don't want any bloody chaos or clashes between groups of people. We don't want the Cambodian issue to be played up to the point of people wanting to be the right wingers, without proper information and try to see all the neighbors, Cambodian all as enemies, which is absolutely antithesis to what we want. This is a time for ASEAN cooperation. They're not. So the regime, I mean the political functioning system that we have to keep it as democratic as possible.
The Prime Minister recently said that the border situation was being basically fully trusted to the army. And you've also mentioned the word coup d'etat. A lot of people have said that they're worried when they hear a Prime Minister saying that they're giving full power or full control to the army to control such a sensitive situation. Does that bring concern to you as well?
It does. But given the history of Thailand, we have been militarily dominated, for so long of a time. So in order to get rid of it completely would be, I would say, I mean, that's what we want, but it's not is not likely to happen in a moment. So what I'm saying is, how do we transition from the military-dominated time into the civilian control of the situation such as this? But the question that one may ask is, will civilian government at this condition be better than the armed forces in deciding over the issue? I think people start to asking that, which is a risk to the system because it should be civilian rule and military as operators.
So are you suggesting that the likelihood of a coup has increased?
No, I would think that people would ask for it and the armed forces would not want to do it. I mean, the coup is still a possibility in Thailand. To stage a coup is not difficult. To keep power after that would be extremely difficult. That's why they think about the first strike so much because they fear the consequences of the second strike by others.
Your friend, former Premier Thaksin Shinawatra, is currently in prison. Why?
Because of the undemocratic mechanisms that has been functioning in this country since before 2006 or the first coup. I think that what Prime Minister Thaksin had done is to push the country towards development without regarding to any undemocratic elements that lurk or that remain at the time. If he would be at fault, he would be at only one point, that he thought that the country was already a democracy.
So is there any aspect of the justice, that some people say justice, that he's experiencing? Is any aspect of that fair, or is it all like political persecution?
I would say that primarily it is a political persecution, but partially there's some mismanagement on our side involved. You know, it has been 25 years, Matt. So every side has done certain things during this long period of time. So I wouldn't say that we are immune from all the mistakes or the lessons to be learned, but the primarily cause is still the military intervention and our democratic mechanisms that had been used prior to the 2006 coup d'etat.
So if what you're saying is that he's experiencing political persecution, what about all of the other people who were involved in the situation that he's currently facing, such as the people involved in the medical situation? Because some of them are also they're facing criminal charges, they've lost their licenses. Is that
Right.
also political persecution?
Not all. As I told you, it's a saga, it's an ordeal. So some of the situations are actions and reaction. But if it is illegal, then it has to be charged nonetheless. When you allow the political uncertainty to go on this long, then there are people are prone to commit more crimes and more political mistakes. That's the case of Thailand.
I see. And so you were actually also in self-exile for 15 years, and then
Yes.
you returned last year. Are you being politically persecuted as well?
At the time or now?
Both.
I believe that I was politically abused. I don't want to avoid the word prosecute, but for me, prosecute usually involving death or being killed. At the time, they sent someone to go after me and try to kill me, yes, in the first few years. But after, let's say, the first 10 years, I had no evidence to support any claims of such extreme measure. So I would say that my case started with the political prosecution and then reduced to political rivalry or the political punishment. And now I'm in a state of being a compromised one that try to get the country to work on whatever capacity I'm given. So I'm not consider myself a political persecuted person at this time.
Do you feel that you would be limited if you were more active in politics right now?
No, I plan to be more active in politics. I'm already started. I wouldn't know the answer to the question until I try, and I'm willing to try.
But do you feel that you still have a fair freedom of speech, for example? Do you feel that you can say what you want to say, or do you worry that because of what you've experienced already that you have to be more careful?
I don't think that freedom means that you can say what you want to say. I believe that a cultured society means that you have to know what you know are the popular limits to such a society. I accept that.
How do you think that we can put an end to the constant state of lawfare that's destabilizing politics and then destabilizing the country?
Well, I'm sorry to be giving, my personal thought that it might not be over at all, in any places in the world. I think we're talking about human struggle. In other words, there are always people who disagree on things and people who would be willing or more than willing to use force or illegal means to win over the debates. So the fighting goes on among the people. But for Thailand, I think education and full communication are very helpful in reducing the violence or the over excess of these political conflicts. But to reach a complete end, I don't think it ever happens.
Even with a constitutional reform?
Yes, the constitutional reform might allow us to address some of the aggressive thoughts in a more constitutional legal way, but it doesn't limit or stop or terminate any attempts if anyone try to go beyond that.
One of the major issues that has come up, especially in the last couple of days, as people around Bang Nong Jan are facing potential eviction from the land there. MOU 43 and 44 are mechanisms for managing the Thai-Cambodia border development, essentially. Should either MOU 43 or 44 be canceled?
People who hope that the Cambodian-Thai conflict would rise up to the growth of the right-wing population of Thailand. I think that's only what they desire to do. The MOUs, the two pieces of documents, are only the memorandums of what Thailand and Cambodia have agreed in peacetime. In other words, they are instrumental. They are methods. They are not even a solution or any statement in themselves. So to tear down or to tear up the two MOUs are not what we need to do at all, and it's not even an argument. The argument is how to stop the conflict between the two countries
Why are you against canceling them?
because it chronicles the past disagreements on maps, on pictures, on photos, in negotiations between the two countries. It's like the history of agreements and disagreements. The two documents were written and signed in peacetime. So the so-called political goodwill was there when they were signed. Imagine that if we canceled them and then we have to negotiate with Cambodia in wartime, what would happen without the MOUs? Then we have to start from zero in the situation where goodwill is very hard to find. So I think it
Yeah.
would be to delay the peace process with the two countries unnecessarily if we tear them down.
Okay, and so on the same note, you've mentioned your pro-democracy stance a few times, and I want to ask you about the referendum on the memorandums of understandings, because there is a large group of people who believe that MOU 43 and 44 should be decided by the people in the form of a referendum in the upcoming election. How do you feel about the memorandum approach to reforming them or canceling them where the people get to decide?
It is the so-called administrative tool, and who represent the executive, authority in Thailand is the government, the current government. So what it has to do, if it agrees with the nomination, is to pass a cabinet resolution and terminate them or cancel them. No need to spend this money or spend time of the people to vote for it because you can cancel it. People have to have more time in studying and looking at these documents because I've read them. I know that they're complicated. It would take time for people to study and even read about it and ask questions about it, anybody would feel the same way. It's a very legal, documents. So in order to squeeze the referendum in the limited time on such complicated documents, I don't think it's fair for the people. While it is the government decision, if they want to cancel it, they don't have to refer to the people and use people as excuse to cancel them. Of course, my personal idea is not to touch them, keep them that way.
You use the word excuse. Why do you think it would be an excuse to involve voters in the decision-making process for the cancellation of these MOUs that affect the future of everyone in the country?
Because that's why we have a government for. The government is there to make some decisions for the society. It will save time, it will save budgets, it will save the possible political conflicts. That's a political consideration to it. If there's no government, then we have to do a referendum on all issues, including, if we should turn on the red light longer at intersections. In other words, some of the problems have been assigned so government can act for the people and do good explanation for them afterwards. I think that's a more efficiency. That's a more efficient way of running the country. But if they would decide that people would get involved, then we have to be sure that there is a referendum on how much people, know about this. Do they have enough time to study it? Most people are not professional. They have to do their work. They have to run their lives. In order to ask them to put them all down to study this in such a short time and decide for the government in the decision that the government should be able to decide by themselves, I don't think it's a very good thing to do at this time.
Do you think, though, that it makes sense for a minority government, which represents the minority voice, not the majority of people, to be able to make decisions on behalf of the whole country?
No. If it makes sense, then no cabinet resolution, not one single item.
Got it. On to the next big issue here. It's also involving the Thailand-Cambodia conflict, as well as the upcoming election, which is scam centers are a big part of the current issue. And many people have suggested that Thai politicians, Thai establishment people are actually involved in some way, benefiting from scam centers not being shut down. What do you know about this?
Well, I heard all the rumors and stories about it. I have a hard time segregating between fact and fictions on this, to admit to you. But of course, I truly believe that the scam centers benefit people from both sides of the border. But how far and how higher up, I don't know. But it is the right thing by the previous government, our government, to terminate all these activities on all borders. They had been on the Myanmar border and then the Cambodian border. All borders have to be clear of that. So I believe that this is the right decision. Whether or not there would be consequences or revenges, whatever that came after that decision, that's what we have to manage afterwards, which is what the current government, not the previous government, had done before it ceased becoming government.
Why do you think that scam centers are still operating at all when we all know that it's such a big issue?
Because honestly, we have to allow Cambodia to be able to develop to the degree that all the incomes are positive. Cambodia is a country where only 30 years ago they fought like hell. There was the right wingers there was the left winger there was Khmer Rouge, there were genocides. There were wars for 40, 50 years. So they didn't have time to construct the good states, so the so-called good incomes would flow in. I believe that they have to start with things like this, including scammers and all these places, including illegal gasoline in the deep ocean, something like that. They have to start like that first in all the ways, and they try to make it more legal, to legalize it in some ways from this field to another. So I think in view of Cambodia's peaceful and warring history, I think that we have to allow this kind of thing to go on for a while before agreeing that it should be curbed or clear, out of the picture. It just disrespect for the history.
So, what would you suggest is the most proactive or the best next step for ending the scam center operations on the border?
To end it?
Yeah, to fight it, because it seems that now
yeah.
we are there's a lot of talk about fighting it, but it seems that somehow more people are talking about fighting scam centers, but there's more scam centers. There's more losses, there's more people being trafficked, these types of things.
Well, there was a proposal months ago that should we bomb the scammer place
Bombed?
by the Air Force, yes.
Wow. Okay.
That would be a decisive decision, don't you think? But it would involve a lot of blood and losses. And the relationship with the two countries would never get back to normal if we go to that extreme. So, in other words, the idea is there, yes, to terminate them completely because they are not useful to Thailand in any ways. And in the future, when the society is ready for Thailand to legalize the gambling or they have the so-called entertainment complex, then it would make even more sense. But of course, Thailand is a civil country. We will not use any means or any measures that would be negative in nature in order to resolve any problems.
Okay, and so given your understanding of the situation, you have been, I'll get into this later, but you have been involved with Cambodia in various ways for some time. Do you believe that if the scam centers were cracked down on, that the Hun Sen regime would fall?
No, the Hun Sen regime is too strong and they have complete authority over the land. So if one, let's say, source of income, one cash cow, had been killed, they simply move to another area and do something else. They're that powerful. So no, it's not the end of the Cambodian regime. What affects them, though, not to end them, but to affect them heavily, is the closure and the opening of the border checkpoints.
Kun Surya recently said that Pheu Thai could win 200 seats in the upcoming election. Is that realistic?
Well, we have been experiencing by some by-elections first, and number two, all the candidates are now in the field and has been for a while. So there is some information received from each constituency. These are the data that we use to measure, and evaluate our chance. I think that he is not too optimistic. I think we can go there. But the problem is, at the very end of the day, we have to be aware of the very important fact, because the party on our side, no matter what name it is, has been relying heavily on the called organic votes, which means that people would like the policy. They may not like us as people, but they vote for us anyway because of these policies. I don't think that the kind of vote would be viable this time. The country has been under a lot of conflict chronically. So the idea between each other is kind of dividing, between each group or each party. So in other words, I think that the natural votes or the natural feeling towards the party has to be built, hopefully in time for the election. But the more pressing task is for each candidate to go deep, perhaps deeper than they are used to, into each constituency to find out what happened. Like, if you allow me to talk about the case of Chiang Rai, the north of Thailand, a few weeks ago, I was heavily involved with it, very closely involved. You see, what concerns us is not our victory of 45,000 votes over 18,000 votes of the People's Party, but the no vote is 9,800. We worry about that so much because people seem to be disappointed with the People's Party in joining Anutin government, but they do not revert to loving us.
Why?
That's what we want to know. We are finding out now that when they are dismayed by the other side, why don't they come back to us? They still don't like us.
So on that note, while we're there at the People's Party, I speak to everyone, but they often say, and they've been saying since the 2023 election when
Yeah.
they weren't able to form a government, they've said over and over again that if there was an election today, they would win. Do you believe that?
I believe that. I believe that, and we are working hard to reverse that, to disappoint them. But of course, the PT party has to do a lot of reforms themselves. I came back to find a party more, how would say, more laid back than it was before. I was in the founding time of the Thai Party, the first party before the first coup, and I could sense more energy and more, I would say, famous names or energy in the air or organic votes more than we see today. So yes, they're right, but I hope that they're not depending only on that belief because things keep changing, that the ground keeps changing, and we want those changes to be beneficial to us, eventually.
So during the current period, though, of the interim minority government, the next
Mm.
4 months, it seems that the relationship in between the opposition parties didn't really turn out how some of the people in those parties thought it may. That they're not really working together in the way that some anticipated. So I'm just curious, how do you feel about the current state of the two leading opposition parties? Do you think that Putai and the People's Party can work together if they need to? Like, if there's an abuse of power from this minority government, the purpose of the opposition was to be a system of checks and balance, right? But it seems that you guys are not really getting along. So how is that going, and how do you see that developing?
Well, we are politicians, if we have to get along, we get along. No problem. Because no one talking about sincerity here. You don't need to be sincere. You have to do the right thing. It is a country, not a family, not a personal story. So I think if we stop pretending, then we can work together.
You have said many times our change. You're referring to us. Are you rejoining the? Are you taking a position?
Yes, I think I may run for an MP this time, and I would help others to do the same, and it would help the party in the common effort to get the branding of the Pheu Thai party restore and much more to add value to it. I think we suffered some damages in the past, and we have to look at these problems in the eyes and fix the problem. Yes, I would be actively engaging.
How do you plan to rebuild public trust, for one, within the party, but two, you have a lot of political baggage. How do you plan to deal with that? I mean, you've only been back for a year, right?
I just set them down. I mean, why do you want to, shoulder a bag of bricks? Put them down. The point is, I have to convince the people in the country that we need a new goals now. And there's hardly any time to talk about the past. Of course, if they choose to remember the past, then I'll be more trouble than good. But I have ideas. I have my understanding of the world. I have the fixed, not fixed, strong idea of how to link the global economy, the global situation into Thailand's affair. That's something that no one, almost no one talks about this. Thailand is not only a country now, it's a member of the world community. For example, like it was talking about the space program, Thailand is not even a part of it. There's a lot more to talk about, not only about us, but about how we would be included or we would attach ourselves into the global situation. That's something that I believe I can contribute mostly.
And you believe that you could win an election, you could win a seat?
Myself?
Yeah.
Yes, I think I could. I would because I faced some, I was involved in some electoral arrangements and managements in the past, I would say years after I came back, just almost 2 years, about 3 or 4 spots. And I believe that I learned from that situation. Then, as I told you, I also know about what we didn't have, what we had before as Thai Party. At the time, you could be an unknown person and get elected because the party was so famous and well accepted. Now we don't have that. So each candidate, each constituency have to work very hard to achieve that.
Do you think that it would be proper use of your skills to take on a leadership position in the party?
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. I would say that I just want to crave my own, a little bird in the tree, maybe a branch, and then, and probably when I have that comfortable spot, maybe I can see a wider picture.
Okay.
Possibly.
And so, sorry, that's all of my questions, but I want to throw it back to you for
Yes,
the last one,
please.
which is there any issue that I haven't covered that, since I know that you're running or you will be running for a seat, is there any
Yes.
issue that I haven't covered that is of high importance to you that you would like the viewers to know about, that you'll be focused on, or?
Yeah. If I may say something, since you give me a chance, I am, well, this is what people call, I don't call themselves. I'm one of perhaps the first cabinet ranking LGBTQ couple in the country after the law was passed. So, my spouse was a man or is a man, whatever. I mean, he can select to be either one of them. And our lives probably became a test to the society whether or not the gay culture of Thailand, if I may use that word, it's too narrow. The gay culture of Thailand would be a drag or a boost to my political career. That's something that I want to see.
Okay, then. Well, I love to hear that. Thank you so much for sharing, and also thank you very much for your time, sir. I
Thank
hope
you.
to speak with you again soon. I will be following your political journey. There's a lot of people I spoke to before this interview, and I asked them, and they all wanted me to ask you if you're coming back. They seem to not know. So here we go.
Oh,
Now we know.
now you know. Now you know. Tell them.
Yeah. Thank you very much for
Oh,
your time.
thank you, Matt.